You're someone with a vision for your practice, for your side hustle, and for your personal journey. But when it comes to establishing your path on how to get to where you want to be with your practice, things get a little messy. You're also someone who'd prefer to go in person instead of to groups and listening to everyone else's story. To me, it sounds like you could benefit from one on one consulting with our experienced practice of the practice consultants. From $5.95 a month and up, you can work with a consultant that will give you more direction and practical, tried and tested tips matched to you and your goals. For more information, visit practiceofthepractice.com/apply. Again, that's practiceofthepractice.com/apply. This is the Practice of the Practice podcast with Joe Sanok, session number 1378. I'm Joe Sanok, your host, and welcome to the Practice of the Practice podcast, where we help you build a thriving private practice you absolutely love. You know, we do this show because it's not what we used to have back when I started my practice, that's for sure. We want to help you get to that next level without all the tough work that we had to do. And, you know, part of that is educating you and helping you learn, but also connecting you with other people. And so we recently did the group practice launch week, where we did some live webinars that were free. We had some people that we've helped go from solo into group practice. And we wanted to share that with you because a lot of you said that you couldn't make it. A lot of you said, hey, you know, I want to just hear that on the podcast. And honestly, you know, it's great content. The people that attended live were like, this is amazing. This needs to be out there. So we're going to just share with you these recordings. Also, if you want to be in community with other people that are leveling up their practices from solo into group, that's our group practice launch program. That's track number 2 from the Practice Academy. So we have the Practice Academy. That's our membership program. And within it, we have 3 different tracks. We have sustainable solo practice for people in solo practice, whether they're starting all the way through the moment that they want to start a group. Then we have group practice launch, that's track 2, and then we have sustainable group practice. And so within that is people that have smaller groups all the way up through, we have our 7-figure practice club that's within that. And so if you have a 7-figure practice, then you also get to come to an additional live meeting every single month at no extra charge. So if you want to read about any of that, if you want to learn about the Practice Academy, head on over to practiceofthepractice.com/membership. So without any further ado, here are some of the trainings from the group practice launch week. Well, welcome everybody. So glad that you are here today. Just really excited to hang out with you talking about group practice, going from solo practice. But before we start the slides, would love to hear any snowpocalypse stuff going on. Go ahead and put it in the chat. If you're covered in snow somewhere in the U.S., let's maybe play a game of auction. Sarah, why don't you put in there how much snow you guys got last night, and we'll see if we can beat that. 16 inches in Pennsylvania. Whoa. Yeah, I think we got like 9 or 10 last night. So, yeah, anyone beat 16 inches overnight? That's a lot of snow. That was from Sunday. Oh, we had 9 inches overnight. So we're up to like 4 feet of snow in our backyard. So,
Holy smokes.
yeah, it's pretty wild. But that's Michigan. I'm like, this is old school Michigan winter. I'll take it.
My boys were snowboarding and skiing down the hill in our yard
Love it.
yesterday.
That's what they should be doing.
That's
Absolutely
it.
awesome. Well, cool. Well, we're going to jump right in. So welcome. We're talking about from solo practice to group practice success. We're going to be talking through the blueprint for therapists to go from solo into group. Really excited to hang out with you today, talking through that transition. So first, I'm Joe Sanok, and if I haven't met you, hello. I'm the founder of Practice of the Practice. We help practices build a thriving private practice that they absolutely love. So we do that in a lot of different ways. One way we do that is through the Practice Academy, which is our membership community. And so group practice launch is one of those areas that we really support therapists to go from solo into group. And that's where we see things just really scale for folks, where they start to go beyond their own time. I have a podcast. I have a writing career. I've written a book through Harvard Business Review, and also wrote one with HarperCollins. And I do public speaking and all sorts of other things. But more than anything, I'm a dad and a partner. These are my 2 daughters, and they are just so much fun. We play board games. We go outside when it's not, sub-zero temperatures, but even when it is, sometimes we have adventures outside as well. So why consider a practice? So you might be on the fence thinking like, I'm solo, I'm doing well. Do I want to take on a group practice? And that's really good that you're being thoughtful around whether or not you want to do this. I do think that sometimes we overthink it because we think, oh man, if I start this, I can never change. If you start a group practice and it's not for you, you can always decide, I don't want to do this. Or maybe you'll see it's easier than you thought. So some of the benefits of a group practice is, it increases your revenue beyond your own time. It's a shared workload. So you're not seeing every single person that's coming in. Maybe there's opportunities there that you're missing. So maybe you only see adults and there's, folks that want a therapist that works with kids. Maybe you mostly work with people post-divorce, but you want to have somebody that works with marriages that maybe are on the rocks, but haven't yet divorced. So you can also have a greater impact on your community. You think about how if you have, 20 people, 30 people on your caseload, and then you add 2 other people that have that, that's tripled your impact on your community. Also, it gives you a sense of enhanced professional collaboration and support. You have reasons to reach out to more people in the community. You can establish something, kind of see, could you build something bigger than maybe you thought it could be? And would love to hear, why are you considering a group practice? Maybe you already have started one. Go ahead and put that in the chat. Why are you thinking about starting one? What's on your mind in regards to it? We'll definitely get to a bunch of questions at the end, but would love to hear, why are you considering starting a group practice? Go ahead and drop that in the chat. Would love to hear a little bit more. So before we get too far in, I want to cover something that we talk a lot about within Practice of the Practice, and that's the sustainable group practice repeatable process. So this is a process that I used with mental wellness counseling. This is a process that most of our folks use that are in our communities. And so, I see a chat came in. All right. Like you just said, bigger impact, lots of need here. Love that, Jenny. That's wonderful. So here within Practice of Practice, we teach this, and this is what I did with mental wellness counseling. So first, we notice within our practice the need for a specialty, the need for a certain time of the week, or any other trends. And so, for example, I kept meeting with attorneys with mental wellness counseling, and I would hear from them, we don't have a person that really can do good co-parenting assessments, that is a therapist, a psychologist, that can run the psychological battery, that we trust. We keep sending people down to Grand Rapids, which is over 2 hours away. So you think about the impact of those 2 co-parents that are probably in the midst of a divorce, having to coordinate going down 2 hours, get the kid down there to get interviewed. Sometimes it's a multi-day interview. And these attorneys were saying to me, it's really just frustrating that, we've got all these psychologists in town that are doing these tests, but no one wants to touch co-parenting. No one wants to do this. So I started to notice this. Step 2, we start to create a wait list or scheduling for that new clinician. And so in that case, we reach out to the attorneys and say, hey, I'm going to be hiring a new psychologist for co-parenting, and let me know if you're going to have people in the coming months. Step 3 is posting and hiring for the clinician. Now that kind of goes against what maybe we think. We think we should hire the person first, but we want to have that proof of concept before we really start doing it. So we could say, okay, so right now at the time of this webinar, it's January. So how long would it take to really hire someone? So if we posted it, that's going to be live for about 2 weeks probably. Do some interviews, make an offer that's probably within the month. And then that person may need time to transition out of current jobs. Maybe they can start part-time right away. So we're looking at least probably 6 weeks from the time of posting it. So that means that if I was hiring right now, and maybe I was starting to create a wait list, I could start saying in early March, we've got a new clinician coming on. We start to get that person scheduled. So then that first week of March, about 6 weeks out, we're able to then start with that person having lots of folks. And then say that doesn't work out, or say it's delayed, we can always contact those people way ahead of time and say, hey, we have some issues with the hiring of our new clinician. We need to schedule you out a couple more weeks. But they at least then have something on the calendar. So we start that wait list, start that scheduling, post and hire for the clinician. Step 4 is then start that onboarding. So adding that clinician to the website, making sure it's operational, EHR, getting them involved in the electronic health records, getting them on social media saying, meet our new clinician, Jenny. She's amazing. Getting headshots, all that sort of thing. And then step 5, that first day, ideally they have 1 to 3 intakes on their first day. And so we want to make sure that we get them full quickly so that they're excited, that they're ready to go. And then when they're about 60% full, that's when we repeat this process. So 60% because, as we look at the next 2 months of this process, they're going to go from 60 to 70 to 80, maybe 100% full. And we want to make sure that we keep filling up those positions as it grows based on the need. All right. So we want to look at also what's your capacity. I think a lot of times people underestimate their physical capacity. Now, you might be entirely virtual, then we don't need to really worry about capacity. But if you have an office, some people say, well, I don't want to have to upgrade to like a 5-office suite if I have a group. A 5-office suite, the general rule that we use is that you can have 2.5 people per office. And so this is kind of an estimate, but it's based on scheduling. So if we just look at the maximum number of offices that one office could handle, if we think during the weekdays, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., now we have to focus our marketing on being able to get people that want to come before work or, that want to come in the middle of the day. If we only see kids, we're probably not going to be able to fill up a full day. So we need to have some diversity there. And this is based on if we just do it on the hour, not if maybe we do it on the 45 minutes, which sometimes you can do to get a couple extra sessions in there. So that's 13 sessions per day during the weekday in regards to capacity. On the weekend, probably 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., so about 10 sessions per day. So that's a total weekly capacity of 85 sessions per office. And so you figure not everyone's we're not gonna be able to be completely full like a hotel would want to be. But even if we had 2 people that were doing 20 sessions per week, and then another person that was doing 10 to 15, that's still only 55 sessions right there. And so we still have 30 sessions, 30 hours of time that office isn't being used. And so it really becomes more of a scheduling and logistics thing rather than a capacity thing for most offices. We actually, when I first got mental wellness counseling going, I had a single office suite and there were 4 of us that were using it. And we each had different evenings we used it. We could use it during the day. And we just had to have a really solid scheduling. Like, the same way that if you were checking out a pickleball court at the YMCA, same sort of thing where, people would check it out and figure out what times they needed it ahead of time. So we want to think about when is the right time to expand. And so here's a couple indicators in your solo practice that can tell you yeah, now is a good time. So one question to ask yourself is, are you consistently 60% full or more? Now, this is not something you have to worry about. You can also go into different specialties, different times of the week, where maybe you aren't seeing nearly as many people. So I'm starting Great Lakes Online Counseling. I've been doing that for 8 weeks. I think I'm on week 9 right now. And this is an experiment that I'm doing publicly, talking about it on the podcast. I'm only working 2 hours a week on this practice, and I'm not going to see anyone clinically. So I'm doing this completely to build the practice, to do what I'm talking about in here, and to start the hiring and doing all that too. So next we want to look at, do you have a waiting list? So is there some capacity? Is there some need for people coming in to be able to have that waiting list and know that you've got folks that are coming in? Also, can you financially support another clinician? So early on, sometimes there's some costs. Now, if we offer a clinician, say a part-time position that's 30 or 40 grand a year, you're not paying that all at once. You're paying that, every 2 weeks. And then that money from their sessions is coming through and you're getting paid out by the insurances. But sometimes there's times when maybe the insurance money doesn't come in and you need to pay that person. We want to make sure that we have some of that money that's in there so that you're not having to either not pay the clinician or do that on credit cards or things like that. Also, are your admin systems in place? So maybe you haven't hired a virtual assistant yet, but if someone calls, who do they talk to? If someone schedules maybe an intake pre-consulting call or an intake, hey, a free 15-minute discussion with you, what is it that happens next? So do we have those systems set up? And then do you also have space for that clinician? So if you are doing in-person therapy, do you have space? And if you don't have space, does that person have good lighting in their house? Do they have a good background? Does it look professional? All of that. So next we want to also look at our financial stability. So do we have 3 months of the expenses of the practice saved up? Now this isn't something you have to have. It just makes it a little bit easier. So, what makes it easy? So if you have 3 months of the expenses of the practice, so your rent, your EHRs, your marketing, then if you're in a tight spot where you maybe have to touch into that where you've got to tap into that emergency fund. You're not backed into a corner and make bad decisions about your practice. Do you have those effective admin processes? And also, what about physical space? So let's look at the financial impact a little bit. So we want to understand revenue versus expenses. So in a group practice, you're going to have things that are called fixed expenses, and you're going to have variable expenses. And so knowing what costs go up as you grow and what costs stay the same. So when you have fixed costs, so like your rent, every person that you add to the practice, it ends up being cheaper, because if your rent is $2,000 a month and you have 2 of you that are in there, it's basically $1,000 per clinician. Whereas if you have 4 people, that's $500 per clinician. So your overall costs go down. Variable costs would be like your EHR. So usually EHRs charge you per seat to have that EHR. So thinking through that, to think through, okay, how does revenue and expenses, how's that all work out? Next, we want to look at your profitability with multiple clinicians. So we want to look at what is the profitability here. Typically, what we recommend is that 40% of what comes in goes back to the clinician in the form of a fixed rate for their specific level that they're at. And so that could be per session. It could be if they're part-time based on a 20-hour week, or if they're full-time based on a 35-hour week. We want to decide between W-2 and 1099. We always recommend W-2. Right now, it seems like with the IRS, the risk is way too high with 1099s. And then we want to just make sure we have a basic financial plan. So let's talk about hiring your first clinician. And we're going to kind of get to the end pretty soon here of the presentation part. So feel free to start putting some of those questions in. This happened yesterday where a bunch of questions were coming in at the end and we had to try to squeeze them in. Would love for you to just get those questions in about starting a group practice. So first, we want to look at what qualities are you looking for in a new clinician. So in my hiring with Great Lakes Online Counseling, Great Lakes Online Counseling is focused on post-divorce families, individuals, so dating after betrayal, some co-parenting things, single parents. So that's our whole focus of Great Lakes Online Counseling. And so we've built out the website, all of that. So as part of the hiring process, I have questions around trauma, EMDR, things that would be really helpful within that specialty. So looking at those qualities, even when I'm doing an interview, if it's online counseling, I'm going to look, do they have good light on their face? Do they have a decent background? Are they sitting on their bed in their bedroom and it's like feels weird? Like, I don't want to see my therapist sitting on their bed. That feels weird. So what kind of judgment do they have over a virtual interview? Also, we want to look at that interviewing and onboarding process. So we want to not just think through the initial questions, but then how do we do background checks? How do we make sure that their license doesn't have any dings on it? We want to make sure that we then start onboarding them into our payments. So if you're working with, say, Practice Solutions, or you're working with Headway to help with your billing, getting the credentialing going, all of that onboarding. And especially your first clinician, you want to keep track of all those things so that when it is time for you to hire, it's a lot easier to hire that next person and to know what to do and to create those standard operating procedures. And then we want to set some expectations and responsibilities. So if we're starting with paying them per session, to say, here's what your clinical rate is, here's what your non-clinical rate is. You can only have this many hours of non-clinical without approval. Those sorts of things are really important. Something always comes up when you're running a private practice. Well, Gusto's payroll and HR services can make it a little easier. Gusto was designed for you, the small business owner. They take the pain out of running a business, automatically calculating paychecks, filing payroll taxes, setting up open enrollment. Gusto does it all. Want more? Time tracking, health insurance, 401k, onboarding, commuter benefits, offer letters, access to HR experts. You get the idea. With Gusto, you can focus on the joy of running your business. It's super easy to set up and get started. And if you're moving from another provider, Gusto can transfer all the data for you. It's no surprise 99% of businesses said the value they get for Gusto is worth the price. And here's the best part. Because you're a listener, you get 3 months totally free. All you have to do is go to gusto.com/Joe. Again, that's gusto.com/Joe. I'm telling you, You're going to love Gusto. Get started today. And then we want to think about your leadership, switching from being, a solopreneur where it's really just you or maybe a virtual assistant. We want to look at, we've got to build your leadership as well. So how do we establish clear communication channels? Like when things go wrong, how does that work? So if a session isn't going appropriately, if maybe some of the tech isn't working, if someone they don't have a key to get into the office, how do all those things happen? We want to create a supportive work environment where they can show up, they can do the counseling, they can leave, they can feel connected, all that. And then we want to make sure that we understand how are we giving feedback. So when someone is newer to your organization, it could be a virtual assistant, it could be a clinician, I like to have a daily 15-minute meeting with them just to make sure nothing's wrong, nothing's off, that we can catch it early. Now, pretty early on, you'll realize, okay, every single day is a little bit too much. And then you'll go to maybe every other day or once a week for 15 minutes. And then maybe it's like every other week for half an hour. But really early on, you want to meet with people pretty regularly to make sure that it flows really well and you can catch things. So next we want to talk about marketing your new group practice. So imagine you've hired your first person. We want to first look at your brand identity. So really, is it based on you? Is everything about you? We want to move from me to we, where it's we do this, our team. Even in your lead up to it, switching your website over so that it isn't all I started this practice, I'm doing this. We want to start to build that brand identity as something beyond you. And so maybe your practice name is Joe Sanok Counseling. We might want to even look at, do we want to change that URL? Do we want to change something else to have it be mental wellness counseling, to have it be something that goes beyond me as just the only person? Because otherwise, clients are going to mostly want to see you if your name is in it all. We want to look at our effective online and offline marketing strategies. So we want to look at some things like are we going to be doing some organic SEO, some search engine optimization to help you rank higher in Google? Are we going to be working to get some backlinks to your website? Are we going to be doing some blogging? Are we going to eventually do some social media type of things? We want to so client testimonials is one of those areas that is often overlooked. Now, our ethics say you don't go to people and say, hey, give me a testimonial. But what we can do is in client satisfaction surveys say, is there anything that you would want the general public to just know about your experience with Great Lakes Online Counseling? Your details won't be shared, but is there anything that for you, you think the public should know? You can also have a sticker in your office that says, feel free to rate us on Google. People are then choosing to do it without the pressure of the therapist doing it. Those are ways that, for the most part, the ethics boards have been fine with. And so as long as the person, because the intent of not asking a client for testimonials is we don't want that person to feel pressure and for that to get in the way of the therapeutic relationship. So if you're not in the session like, hey, make sure you rate and review me on Yelp, that would feel kind of weird. I don't know if I want to do that. Are they going to then check and see that I didn't do it? Whereas if we kind of give them the option where it's like, hey, in this survey, is there anything you'd want the general public to know that we could put on our website and use in our marketing without your name or anything about you? That's a great way to then get testimonials. Also, one question that we always do is, would you refer a friend or a family member to your therapist? And that for every single year, 100% of our clients said, I would refer a friend or a family member to my therapist. So that's a great stat to use. That's not a testimonial for that individual person, but to say, since 2009, 100% of our clients in our annual survey have said that they would refer a friend or a family member to their therapist. Next, we want to look at networking with other professionals. So who does your niche, who doesn't? So with Great Lakes Online Counseling, we are going to be focusing on post-divorce. So who would we be networking with? Attorneys, pastors, anyone else that's going to be connected to folks that could be going through a divorce, could have gone through a divorce, teachers, school social workers, therapists that work with people post-divorce, and also people that maybe don't do that work. Maybe there's Gottman certified marriage therapists and they don't work with people post-divorce. So we'd want to network with those people as well. We want to use social media platforms. So we want to be using Facebook. We want to use Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, all of that to be creating content that can drive traffic to our website. Another thing that we can do is offer workshops and seminars. And so to offer things locally, and usually what I recommend is doing this with an organization that already has already has people that are in their group. So think about where are their communities already. There's schools, there's churches, there's yoga studios. Those are all places that you could pitch, hey, I'd like to do a seminar about the trauma of divorce, or I want to do a seminar about raising effective teen boys. I know Sarah would do a great job teaching that. So like offering workshops and seminars that are either free or low cost in the community, could be through your community college. It's a great way to position you as an expert in a different way. Engaging with local community. We have one person in our community, Dr. Elizabeth Carr. I love her approaches to marketing. They bought this old, it looks like a Model T, but it's an electric car. And they have their branding for their practice on the side of it. And literally their community has asked them, because it's such a cool car, to help like by like leading their like community parade on the 4th of July and all sorts of other just fun, cool things. Having tables at like a family fair. One thing I've found is if you work with kids, one of the very best ways to get kids close to your table and then the parents are kind of trapped there is to have a bubble machine. To just have a bubble machine, kids follow bubbles. They find out where they're coming from. And so to then just talk to the parents and be like, yeah, this is the kind of therapy that I do. We help all sorts of kids, whether it's just kind of maintenance type things or if they're really struggling. Then we want to start also maybe looking at creating blogs or videos that go a little bit deeper beyond what maybe your social media is. Then as we start to really get some steam, we might want to do some paid advertising. So Google ads, Meta ads, LinkedIn ads, things like that, that we have usually an ad manager that helps run that so that we don't accidentally spend a whole lot. Just this last week, as I was doing the hiring for Great Lakes Online Counseling, I thought that I had posted a classified ad with LinkedIn for $120. I'm like, I'll put a little bit of money into it. I didn't realize that was daily, and I accidentally spent over $1,000. So sometimes when you don't know what you're doing, you pay stupid tax, which I paid. I did get 14 applicants, so I guess that maybe saved me time to spend that money. And if I get a really good person out of it, it'll be worth it. But thus far, I had 14 therapists apply. I had one go through the first round interview, and she seems awesome. But 1 out of 14, I'm like, why are they not replying to this? And I'm like, I'm not going to hunt these people down. I need people that will reply to phone calls. So it'll be interesting to see. And that's why I'm going through this process to kind of get back in the weeds of starting a group practice. I'll probably pop into group practice launch to just get my own help with it from Brandon and the rest of the team. And then we want to track all of this. Now, that seems like a lot to track, but if we just pick one thing a month and say, okay, I'm going to offer workshops for Q1 of this year. I'm going to work on doing, 2, maybe 3 workshops. I'm going to focus on how much energy goes into it, how many emails I have to do, building those connections, and then see if I get any new clients from it. That's all that tracking and analyzing is. It doesn't mean you do all 10 of these all at once. It means like, let's pick one thing to try and see if it works for a while. So as we grow in our group practice, we want to look at delegating because I think the challenge of early group practice is that you wear lots of hats. You are the accountant. You are the person that's doing everything. You're wearing multiple hats. You've got to be that person that has eyes on everything. But really early on, we want to start handing those things off. We want to be saying, okay, I should not be doing my own billing. I should not be doing my own onboarding. I should not be doing all these things. We want to have a virtual assistant that is doing those things. We want to really start to hand things off and to say to those people, here's what we want the ends to be. We want it to be that I don't have to worry about this. Now you put together the means of how we get there. Put together the process, the standard operating procedure, and then we'll talk about whether that works. We want to identify tasks to delegate. So when I'm doing one-on-one consulting with people, we do the love-hate list. So it's very simple. You list out everything that you're doing as a clinician, as an owner, as an operator, and then you just go through and start first with what do I love, what do I hate? So what do I love, what do I hate? And then we look at all of those, what is essential for me to be doing and what is really non-essential. Because we can be doing things that we love and really we shouldn't be doing it. When I first started the podcast, every single episode, I would do the recording. I would then chop it up in GarageBand, make it sound pretty. I would make the image for it, make it look like a cool like band poster, graphic design and things like that. That I'm like, oh, that's really cool. I like how that looks. It would take me about 4 hours per episode to do that start to finish. So when I started handing that off, the team does a great job now making it look like kind of the style that I want. The sound engineering team does a great job, and I can now do, last year we did 5 episodes a week. I show up, I do the recording, I name it, I'm done. And so sometimes in our practice, we have the same sort of thing where we may love doing something, or we may say, oh, it's saving me money for me to like clean the office, take the trash out, vacuum it. It's not a big deal. But paying the couple $100, every other week for someone to come in and blitz your office, what energy is going into that to know that you have to be cleaning your office? So we want to think about what can we start to delegate and finding the right people. And then we want to look at how do we outsource that? Do we want to do that to a company? Do we want to do it to a technology, an individual person? There's lots of ways that we can do it. And we want to think about, well, do we want to do it to like our phones, for example? Do we want to find someone, hire someone when they go on vacation? We have to find someone to fill in for them. You might pay a little bit less, or you can work with a group, an organization like Ubuntu Freelancers, who is out of South Africa, who's really reasonable in regards to like having a whole team cover your phones. That's who we're going to be using with Great Lakes Online Counseling. And so finding those things that really work. So like, therapy notes for a lot of our EHRs, Alma or Headway are really good with billing. We've got Herd that's good with finances and accounting. Gusto is a great tool that can really help you in regards to payroll. So finding these tools that a lot of us are using to just speed things up is a great way. So let's talk questions. I would love to hear if any of you are planning to join the program or in the program. Also, where are you stuck in regards to your group practice? So let's chat. You can just unmute yourselves and I can check in as to where you're at in your solo practice.
Hey, I have a question.
Hey, Jenny.
Hey, so I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about how, like I'm with Headway right now,
Yeah.
and I feel like that doesn't necessarily lend itself to moving into a group, but
Mm.
I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, so
Have
I'm
you
actually
noticed
using
that?
Headway for Great Lakes Online Counseling. So, and they do a great job with group practices. So, we actually met their group practice team. They came to the group practice conference last May. Got to know their
Mm,
whole team. Actually, in a week and a half, Sarah and I are going to be in the Dominican Republic with a whole bunch of 7-figure group practices, and Headway's helping sponsor that event. So they are awesome for groups. All you need to do is I'm not sure who they assigned you as like your representative. Just let them know I'm starting a group practice. I'm going to be hiring. And they can get people credentialed in about 2 to 4 weeks compared to the average credentialer takes about 4 to 6 months. So really you can
okay.
pop in there pretty quickly. So I would just reach out to Headway, say, hey, I'm working with Joe over at Practice the Practice. They know me. I'm doing this program to start a group. And what do you need from me? And so they're going to need fully licensed people.
Hmm.
They any limited licensed people they don't bill for. So you want to get fully licensed people. Just focus on whichever states you think are most marketable. And then if you want to do online, otherwise in person. And then they'll just let you know what they need once you hire that person in regards to getting them onboarded into Headway. Also, if you use Headway's EHR that's built within, if you're ever back billed through insurance, I don't know if you know this, they'll pay any of that back billing if you do it within their program. So you say some insurance says like, you did it wrong, you owe $5,000. Headway covers that cost for you for using all of their systems, because then they know you did it right and it's on them.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Another quick question, real quick, and then I'll let
yeah,
somebody
go
else
for it.
talk.
It doesn't have to be
Um,
quick. We got plenty of time.
do you have pre-licensed individuals in practice, or like how have you guys addressed that? Because I've had some contact from pre-licensed individuals to come on board.
Yeah. So for where I'm at, so I had mental wellness counseling. I started that back in 2006. I sold that to Nicole Ball, who's one of our consultants, in 2019. So she has that. She has pre-licensed people. She has 4 locations. It's enormous now. Great Lakes Online Counseling. I'm literally 8 weeks into starting this thing. So I am hiring my very first person. I'm going to focus on fully licensed people so I can do the insurance through Headway. Eventually, I wouldn't mind, and I think I would enjoy having a teaching practice. But right now, the focus is just like getting it to kind of off the ground and have the finances coming in. From what I've seen, when people have pre-licensed, I think that works best when you already have established the fully licensed people. So you have a good clinical team, because otherwise you end up doing all the clinical supervision. You're usually not getting paid a whole lot for that. You're having people that can't bill through Headway. And then it just can be a bit of a nightmare. Whereas if you, like yesterday, one of our panelists was talking about how they're pre-licensed people, they have a pay what you can. So basically private pay. And so that's been good, because then they can be basically training these people to be in their mindset. And then when they're fully licensed, they're more likely to stick around. So it can be a good feeder long-term if you're in a community where it's hard to find good quality talent. Yeah. Other questions? Well, I covered it all, I guess. Look at that. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today, and hope to see you all tomorrow. Bye, everybody. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me today to learn about going from solo into group. Again, if you are interested in getting connected with other people that are doing this, head on over to practiceofthepractice.com/membership. Today's episode was sponsored by Gusto. Gusto is who we use for our payroll solutions. I absolutely love it because it helps do all the taxes and file everything, and I don't have to worry about having a whole accounting team or bookkeeping team that's doing that payroll. So try gusto.com/Joe. You're going to get 3 months totally free. It's going to help you with your payroll and so many other things, like doing open enrollment, filing payroll taxes, calculating paychecks, all that sort of stuff you can do with Gusto. Again, that's gusto.com/Joe. Thank you so much for letting me into your ears and into your brain. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Special thanks to the band Silence is Sexy for that intro music, and this podcast is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information in regard to the subject matter covered. It is given with the understanding that neither the host, the producers, the publishers, or guests are rendering legal, accounting, clinical, or other professional information. If you want a professional, you should find one.